I can't believe it took me 5 episodes to realize that I should have been wearing this hat instead of the other one. What are we gonna do? Greetings, one and all. My name is Lancer, and welcome back once again to Ahsoka. We are on episode 6 this week, and man, what else can I say about last week's episode, bruh? Other than it was everything that I've ever wanted to see in a live-action show titled Ahsoka. And honestly, there was a part of me that was tempted to just be like, alright, and the series is over. I could care less about, as much as I was just memeing about that. It's like, I do still want to see the end of this show, obviously, like, you know, seeing Thrawn, Ezra, which of course going into this episode. But yeah, last time, we pretty much spent the entire time with Ahsoka, you know, with her dealing with her PTSD, her past, all that. Her and Huyang got inside the ship, and then went inside the whale. As Ahsoka weirdly put it, it's just like, we may not be going where we're going, but at least we're going somewhere, even though that's not the point. But I don't know, I'm sure things will all work out in the end. Either way, this was still a really good episode, and there's still a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. It's cool seeing like what hyperspace looks like to the whales. I don't know, it reminds me of like is it Dolby Cinema, like their intro kind of thing?
History of the Galaxy Parts 1, 2, and 3. I still have those stories in my archive memory. Would you like to hear one?
Yes. What is the canon beginning of the Star Wars universe? I doubt it's not nearly as cool as Legends, but then again, that's just the reality we've had to accept these days.
Tell me one of those stories.
This is...
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. I like that, because last episode was pretty much entirely Ahsoka, which, I mean, it's the Ahsoka show, it makes sense, but now this whole episode is, like, picking up with, like, Sabine and them in this new galaxy, so it's a nice balance, I suppose.
I would think this would be an opportunity for reflection.
I try to avoid that.
Yeah, because you just fucked the galaxy. Little Star Trek thing there. Whole new galaxy, and believe it or not, it looks the fucking same. Now this is kind of cool. I did like this. It's like, oh, it's a ring, you know, like Saturn type stuff. It's like asteroids and whatnot.
Iridia is a graveyard.
It's like, oh, those aren't asteroids. It's all skeletons. This is pretty cool. Live action mothers. There's other mothers other than Talzin.
Welcome, child of Dathomir.
Love that they still have that voice effect as well. I hope we get to see these 3 fight in some capacity. Well, fight, you know, like magic bullshit, but you know. Gripe should be purple. Lightning. Just saying. Just like their bows and whatnot.
This is a land of dreams and madness.
Okay. Another big thing that I didn't realize until talking about these episodes with my boys. I don't know why I didn't connect, but then again, why would I connect it? The names Balin Skull and Shin Hati. Skull and Hati. If you're familiar with Norse mythology, they're the 2 wolves that chase, or it's the wolves that chase the sun. If you're familiar at all with God of War stuff as well, it's the wolves in that mythology. Makes sense. Filoni loves his wolves. I'm sure it's just a nice little Easter egg thing there. Skull and Hati, and of course Balin's portrayed with like black armor and whatnot, and Hati is with like white armor. And later they literally ride a black and white dog thing. I don't know. That's just one of the things when I was talking about it with friends. Was just like, how did I not make that connection? It's just mainly because my lore brains are so divided. I'm not thinking about like Norse mythology when I'm doing Star Wars stuff.
Sometimes stories are just stories.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna say it. These 2 are the best characters in this show. Like, yeah, Ahsoka, Sabine, whatever, but like, I want to see a whole show of just like what Balin has been up to since Order 66, and even before that, just his whole life. Like how he met Shin, at what point he met Shin, how he survived like the Empire and all that, how he ultimately went down the path of the dark side or whatever. Or maybe not like the complete dark side, but like I said, it was like Ahsoka, how she's like gray Jedi, but leans more light. Balin's gray as well, but leans more dark. It's the whole like antagonist side of this story that I care more about than the protagonist story. Like, yeah, Ezra, I gotta see more of Ezra again, which obviously we will going into the last 2 episodes. Like, just these little interactions between these 2, it's just, I love it. I want to see a whole show with them, but Disney being Disney, we never will. So, I mean, obviously we never will for other reasons because, you know, Ray Stevenson is no longer with us, but, you know, still, then maybe do like an animated show or something, I don't know.
As you get older, look at history. You realize it's all inevitable.
I love that.
Fall of the Jedi, rise of the Empire. It repeats again and again.
I mean, it kind of gives, you know, a little more thing to like how the First Order will inevitably rise as well. I just love that idea, just history repeats again and again. And honestly, like, this kind of talk, like, it makes me root for Balin. It's just like, he's sick of it. And he's just like, it just shows, like, he doesn't lean either side. It's like, in this show, it's like they're just mercenaries. But Balin does have his own goal in the end.
Won't our alliance with Thrawn finally bring us into power?
That sort of power is fleeting. What I seek is the beginning, so I may finally bring this cycle to an end.
There's also an interesting thing there with, it's clear that both of them have different goals in mind. Like, it's clear Shin is leaning more towards, she's definitely more dark side, I would say. She wants more power. You know, she's young, obviously, whereas obviously Balin, whatever this beginning he's looking for. I definitely foresee maybe the ending of this show being that Balin and Shin, maybe not like fully side with Ahsoka, but just, they betray Thrawn in them in a way. Great scene, man. Okay, this... I love how it's all damaged and shit. And then the Chimera on the bottom. Bro. Question though. How do they still have fuel? Like, it's been 10, 15 years. Where'd they get fuel from, huh? It's just fueled with Night Sister magic, maybe? I love how haunting this feels. So these stormtroopers, obviously, like, looking at like the like red wrappings around them, it's clear that they're dead. Right? And plus with the whole Murrock thing, like him being a either revived Inquisitor or whatever, because none of them really are speaking other than like the one captain that we see later. But I mean, that's what I got for it. It's like these are like zombie stormtroopers, which is a kind of cool reference to that one-off comic, if you ever read, which was like introducing like a literal zombie apocalypse into Star Wars. I recommend that. It's a cool like sort of horror take on a Star Wars story. I love the different armors though. There he is.
What was first just a dream has become a frightening reality for those who may oppose us.
I mean, it's nice to see that he kept up his look. Now actually looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, his like coat and stuff is like torn up. Lars Mikkelsen, man. See, like, you can make the voice actors just play the actual role, and like it makes a difference. Like actually hearing that voice of Thrawn.
Great mothers, I salute you.
Doesn't actually salute.
They have brought a prisoner.
You never spoke of this.
I love those like little pauses before he speaks as well.
Mercenaries. Balin Skull. And his apprentice, Shin Hati.
Then you must be General Balin Skull. Of the Jedi Order.
I love that. He remembers.
The prisoner is Sabine Wren.
Now there's a familiar name. I understand it is you I have to thank for my escape from exile.
Where's Ezra?
Ah, yes.
Like, this is one of my favorite like types of acting where it's just like he's pretty much monotone. Or I wouldn't say monotone, but like he's not going so high or so low. That's why I loved, like, even in Rebels as well, his version of Thrawn. He's just always calculating, always thinking, the great strategist. Now here's like some more questions I have. Is just like, so right at the end of Rebels, Ezra's holding Thrawn, the thing takes off. What happened in that moment in between them leaving the galaxy we know and then heading to this galaxy? Ezra probably wouldn't have killed Thrawn, but I feel like there's still so much that needs to be answered there of just like what happened in that time frame. Like maybe they'll show it, maybe it'll be brought up, but just like how did Thrawn escape that? Like, I'm sure maybe the stormtroopers like finally got through and then like Ezra had to run, but even then, like 20 years, like over that span of time, like did Ezra never try to attack them? I get it that like obviously Ezra doesn't have his lightsaber, but it's like he's still powerful enough without it. I don't know, I'm sure it's a thing that just throughout this time maybe Thrawn has been trying to hunt Ezra. I mean, obviously it's shown later that that's probably the case.
The desire to be reunited with your long-lost friend. How that singular focus will reshape our galaxy.
Just answer the question.
You shall have provisions, amounts, and our latest intel on Bridges' whereabouts. You helped my cause. Now I shall help yours.
He actually bows. It's a lot coming from him. I mean, obviously, you know, he's just using her, but
You've gambled the fate of your galaxy on that belief?
You wouldn't understand.
Perhaps not.
I'd rather not waste any more time.
I like that even Thrawn's just taken aback by this. Just like, you really just fucked the whole galaxy just to see somebody again. It's like he has that just look of just like confusion, but also like, I respect it, but also like, you're a fucking idiot.
Nomads wander this wasteland and prey upon each other for survival.
Oh, I love his voice. It's like Soundwave, man.
Decepticons, attack! Die well.
Because last time we hear that said in Star Wars is when Maul tells Gar Saxon to die well, Mandalorian. So is that like a Mandalorian saying? Just die well?
Sabine Wren will have the opportunity of finding Ezra Bridger, and if she does, you and your master will destroy them both.
I imagine we'll see that. It'll be an interesting 2-on-2. I'm curious to see how strong maybe Ezra's gotten, or even weaker maybe, but more in tune. Because you also got to remember, Ezra by this point would be late 20s at the least, early 30s, because Sabine's about 30. He spent like pretty much half of his life on this planet. I swear these motherfuckers have never heard of a headshot. More stupid Disney lightsaber choreography at cutting stuff, but it's not actually breaking. Yep, see? White and black one. Now, what's all this stuff that he's loading up? It's probably like art stuff, because like, you know, Thrawn's an art collector. I'm sure he was collecting like, when's the last time he's ever gotten the opportunity to collect art and stuff from another galaxy? Probably like, you know, some of that Dathomir stuff, or maybe, you know, it's like some weapons and stuff.
Do you know the one she seeks so desperately?
Bridger? No. Comes from a breed of Boken Jedi trained in the wild after the temple fell.
I assume Boken, that's like, you know, Jedi. That's what Kanan was for the most part, where it's like he never got to complete his training.
Do you miss it? The Order.
I miss the idea of it, but not the truth. The weakness. There was no future there.
I mean, he's not wrong. The whole thing with the Jedi, it's like Palpatine had such a strong hold on the Jedi, even from the Senate. We really look at it, before even the Clone Wars started, like Palpatine had already won, because he was able to control just everything by that point. He was just having a war for the sake of it, mainly just to grow Anakin's strength and more of his attachment so he can manipulate that more. I mean, he's not wrong. It's just the way the Jedi were going anyway. It's just, who was it that said it was just like they were so stifled by tradition, blinded by endless war? Oh, what's that quote from? Who said that? Oh yeah, it was Terran Malicos in Fallen Order. That's right. Like, he pretty much summed up the Jedi like perfectly. It's just like they were so stifled by tradition, blinded by endless war. They fell long before the Purge ever even happened. They were so blinded by their like past achievements that there was never a possibility of future.
You clearly see one here, in this wasteland?
A little more of
I
that
see
clashing.
what once was the great witch kingdom of the Dathomiri. Perhaps they flee a power greater than their own.
I love their music theme here.
Something calls to me. Can't you hear it?
The boy.
Could count on you.
I love the beard. Don't shave it.
Sure took you long enough.
Well, you didn't exactly tell any of us where you were going.
That's because I didn't know where I was going. It worked, didn't it? Didn't it?
Didn't it? I mean, yeah, it worked. He got rid of Thrawn, but I mean, the war against the Empire still went on. I mean, I guess you could argue that it was easier because the Empire didn't have Thrawn going forward, but nobody tell Ezra about the Death Star, okay? Like, especially don't mention that one episode where they literally were like, because of a lack of translation, they literally could have figured out about the Death Star like a couple years sooner. And also don't tell him that they built a second one and are currently building a third one.
It worked.
But at the cost of everything.
Can't wait to go home.
I like your blue contacts. Can't wait to go home, huh? Those are usually famous last words. I know there's theories that, especially with how Ahsoka's dressed, that maybe the scene that we see at the end of Rebels with Ahsoka and Sabine is maybe after this, and maybe Ezra doesn't survive. That would be kind of stupid, though. It's just like, we just got him. Like, maybe if we introduced him at the beginning of this series, but I don't know.
Another comes. A Jedi. They ride the travelers.
Well, that is unwelcome news. Could it be the reason?
I love how they're directing him. It's like just this long, well, that's unfortunate. Who could it be? Like just these long pauses in between his words.
We shall consider Ahsoka alive until we know otherwise. I want to know her background, history, her world, her master, everything.
He wants to know her master. Well, he's gonna find out that it's Anakin Skywalker. And well, there's a lot of connecting threads there, obviously, with Vader. You know, that one comic that talked about how Thrawn went on a mission with Anakin during the Clone War, and then later went on a mission with Vader during the whole Empire thing. There's a lot there. That's gonna be interesting. I hope we have a scene with that.
Great mothers, I shall once again require the aid of your dark magic.
Cool. This was a really good episode, man. I mean, mainly it's just like I was actually like properly watching it as opposed to like skimming through shit. Well, that was episode 6 of Ahsoka. Now, there's a couple of things like I'm afraid of going into these last 2 episodes, and then I just really hope it doesn't pull a Book of Boba and Mando season 3, where like, you know, yeah, we finally have our like big bad of the season introduced in the last couple episodes, and then we just go into the last episode and they're just defeated. Granted, unlike with those series where they did it in the second to last episode and then had them defeated in the last episode, at least we still have 2 whole episodes left. Yeah, with the whole Ezra thing, I don't know, I feel like he might not make it. I don't know, there's a part of me that wants Ezra to meet Luke. Ezra was sort of, you know, the Luke Skywalker before Luke like joined the rebellion. Timeline wise, it's like Luke and Ezra are the exact same age, because you gotta remember, like, they were born on the same day, right? The Empire Day, the founding of the Empire, you know, when Palpatine was like the first galactic empire. Ahsoka, I've completely forgotten about her at this point. I mean, it'll be cool, I guess, to see Ezra and Ahsoka fight side by side. I mean, obviously Thrawn isn't gonna fight because that's not how he does things. You know, there might be a cool dialogue scene between, I mean, I want Ezra and Thrawn to talk about stuff. It's just like, how the hell, I get how like Ezra survived, like when we saw like he's been with this like traveling group of crabs, but how has Thrawn really survived? Like, obviously it's been a case like maybe his entire legion of like stormtroopers are all like zombies by this point, so it's probably a case of he was just eating all the rations and whatever for himself. I'd love to hear like Thrawn's reaction to like everything that's happened in the galaxy. I mean, I'm sure like the mothers have probably been like informing him just like, oh yeah, the Empire has fallen. Like he talked to just like, yeah, I'm gonna reshape the whole galaxy. So like obviously he knows that like the Empire and everything has fallen. I mean, with how this is going, probably be a thing that maybe they stop him before they leave, but I kind of want it to maybe end as like maybe set up for season 2, that like Thrawn does get back to our galaxy and like everyone else is maybe just left behind here. And it's like, fuck, what do we do now? Cut to black. Season 2. I mean, again, nothing's been said that there will be a season 2, but I mean, there definitely is potential for it. But yeah, just with this whole episode, dude, just again, I feel like there's still just those missing threads there of just like what happened when Ezra and him arrived here, like when they split up. Because I thought it might have been a thing, it's just like they were surviving together, maybe, but like what would have been the point? So yeah, it just must have been a thing of Ezra had to retreat, but I feel like there might be a cool thing where maybe Ezra had a chance to maybe kill Thrawn, but then like, you know, light side and all that, he chose not to. Because then you can maybe have a scene later here where Ezra is just like, I spared your life, Thrawn. There's still a lot left that can be done. I hope it ends with a bang. I'm sure there's just so many factors now, like in this series. It's just like, yeah, there's Ahsoka and Huyang are on the way. Now we're here with Sabine and Ezra doing their stuff. There's Baylan and Shin, and now there's Thrawn, like, and there's Morgan, the mothers. It's just like all these different like combining factors. Like I feel like this finale is gonna be just this big clusterfuck of just stories and shit just coming into one. I mean, it's pretty heavily seated. It's just like, yeah, I'm sure Baylan and Shin are gonna turn on Thrawn. I mean, they're mercenaries, not like they're on his side. It's just like Morgan is just paying them. So maybe it'll be a thing that Morgan dies dies, and it's just like, well, there goes our paycheck, so guess we'll just do our own thing now. I don't know, whatever it is, this beginning that Balin's after. Interesting to see whatever that is. Honestly, there might even be a thing where maybe Shin betrays Balin. Kinda hope it doesn't happen, but it might. It's interesting, so like this big ring is a hyperspace ring, so like the Chimera is gonna dock with it and then it takes off. That's gonna be kind of cool to see. If this is gonna be the permanent end for Thrawn, I really hope they give him a good send-off and they don't like Cad Bane him. We'll just have to see as we go into the last 2 episodes. Either way, this was my reaction and review of episode 6 of Ahsoka. Join me next week for episode 7, as well as everything else that'll be coming out soon. So until next time, I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you.